The following programming is sponsored by Mark J. Bernstein. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Entrepreneur, founder, author, and financial advisor Mark Bernstein helps high-performing business owners turn their visions into reality. Through his innovative work and the Forward Focus Forums, Mark connects entrepreneurs to resources that fuel their success. Founders Forum is a radio show and podcast where entrepreneurs share their journeys, revealing the lessons they've learned and the stories behind their success. Join Mark and his guests for a mix of inspiration, valuable insights, and a little fun. Now, let's dive in.
Good morning, America. How are you today? So it's I don't know what day this is of the government shutdown, which they say is almost over. And we don't talk about politics, and I'm not going to say who's to blame, but I think the whole country is frustrated that our politicians haven't gotten together for this long, and people are suffering because of it. So hopefully we'll have a happy day this week when it's over. And the planes will be all flying again, and people will be eating, and at least till the end of January, and then we'll do it all over again. But anyway. So good morning, Bill. Bill is my guest today. I'm going to introduce him formally in a second. And Bill, throughout all this, there are certainly people, and we talked about this on the other show that we recorded today, the issue of clarity. And for business owners, clarity is really important. But it's not always easy to keep it. And for many people in America right now, clarity is difficult when you don't know where your next meal is coming from, or you don't know if you can afford your health insurance. You know, those are reasons that can blur clarity. What occurs to you when I mention the word clarity, and how does it impact you in your business and your life?
Sure. Hey, Mark, thanks for having me on, first of all.
My pleasure.
When I think of clarity in business specifically, it feels to me like something I'll lose frequently, and it takes some time to step back from the business and focus on the vision and get back in line with the clarity. Because especially we're in a mode now where we are acquiring agencies, and with different cultures coming together.
I'm going to stop you for a second. I think I better introduce you so that people have background.
Okay,
first.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is my way of doing it, but sometimes we have to stop, and then we'll go right back to that. So Bill Sprague is my guest, and he's president at Risk Averse Insurance, and he's the founder of this company, which is a commercial insurance brokerage serving clients in construction, manufacturing, wholesale, and commercial real estate. Bill has been in business since 2015, and he and his team have turned Risk Averse into a leading brokerage in the area, that's Philadelphia region, by providing clients a more proactive approach to protecting their business. So now let's continue. So as an insurance agency.
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to have some acquisitions and mergers recently, and we're combining multiple cultures, right? And sometimes in doing that, you get caught up in maybe the day-to-day, and you lose clarity on like where you want to take the business ultimately. So I think it's something where you have to just step back periodically and just get clear and on your vision and your goals, and then move forward again, right? But sometimes there are setbacks to that.
Right. So, and by the way, I think all entrepreneurs have challenges of clarity at times because of the things you can't control. It comes up on the show all the time. It came up on our last one, the pandemic is an example. Like, how can you have clarity when you don't know if your clients are still going to be in business in 6 months, or if you're still going to be in business?
No doubt.
So, right, and you have to pivot. So that requires, and I'll rephrase how you said it, I call it stepping away so you can work on your business, not at it, right? And sitting back and taking another look and revamping and pivoting and doing whatever you have to do to make clarity happen. So we talk a lot about on the show is entrepreneurship's not always a smooth ride, right? So in fact, I should tell you that I met Bill originally at an EO function, Entrepreneurs Organization, and so we get to talk with people in those groups all the time about challenges, and I think clarity. We don't call it that, but it comes up in a lot of different ways in those conversations.
It does.
So, Bill, tell us about your journey. How did you start? Education, background, where you're from, and how you got into this business, and then I'll ask you some questions around that.
Sure. So, born and raised in Delaware County, Darby, PA. Delco guy through
Go
and through.
Birds.
Yes, sir. So came up, went to Bonner, Monsignor Bonner High School. College, I went to Westchester and graduated from there. I don't think anyone, at least when I was getting into the business, planned to get into insurance. It was just something you kind of fell into, and that was absolutely the case for me. And
Wait, I have to tell you, my brother went to the University of Hartford and was an insurance major.
Yeah,
it's one of the rare.
And it's actually,
and he's not in the business anymore.
It's actually you see it more these days. Like St. Joe's has a program, Temple has a program for risk management, but most of those people will go into like the insurance world. So I didn't see a lot of that when I was going through college, but maybe it was there. But I fell into the business. Started at a small brokerage in Newtown Square, and spent a couple of years on insurance data with an insurance data company. They were doing commercial insurance data aggregation. And then I spent a couple of years on the insurance carrier side. And it was during that time when I was working with business or insurance brokerages that I realized, like, I can be doing this better than how they're doing it, right? Like, I think I could do this better.
What made you think that?
I just saw there are a lot of shops around that are, just very reactive, don't have a plan. And, they do great business. I mean, these guys have made a career out of it, made very good livings. And I was seeing a lot of that while I was punching a clock for a company. And I'm thinking to myself, man, these guys are doing it well, doing well financially. And I know I can do it better, right? I'm going to be more proactive, higher quality. And, that was really what catapulted me into the business.
A little distinction, because you mentioned shops. And I think that's a common thing in the insurance business. I've heard the word too.
Yep.
But I think what you're trying to build is a firm. So I would call it, it's a little small distinction.
Yeah.
But the shops are like, you have a vision of what that means in the insurance business.
Absolutely.
Versus having a firm.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of them out there. They write small, they're tailored to maybe just small home and auto type accounts, maybe a couple of small businesses, things like that.
And nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, these people make great livings doing it. So, I respect that. But I just wanted to work with a different type of clientele, we'll say.
Gotcha. So what did you do? So you broke away and...
Yeah, so we broke away. And I'll say we a lot. And when I say we, I'm generally referring to me and my partner, Mark. Mark and I.
Good name.
Yep, with a C.
Oh yeah. Nice. I didn't know that.
Mark and I are childhood best friends. We went to same high school, same college. Lived together at college for a period of time, and then came out and started our own business. We both worked at that same brokerage in Newtown Square for a bit. So it's been, our wives call us an old married couple at this point. We've been around each other for a long time. So when I refer to we, it's generally Mark and I. So where were we going with that? Just the direction of the business, or
well, how you got the firm started?
Yeah, so we started scratch. We didn't have any business on the books. I started in 2015. Mark came on in 2016. But it was just basically friends and family, who would like me to do their insurance. At the time, you have to go out and see if an insurance carrier will even appoint you.
And this was personal markets at that time?
Personal. We always had a target for going the commercial route. But early on, it's like you're just trying to pay the bills, keep the lights on, right?
Right.
So in hindsight, I would have started larger businesses early on. It would have been slower growth, but it would have been, I think, more sustainable growth over time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what? Tell me about the challenges you had. Obviously, in the beginning, it's like you just need business. So getting whatever business you could get. As you were growing, what kind of challenges did you face?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, I think I mentioned quality earlier.
Yeah.
We wanted to provide a more quality product or service, and we got to the point early on where we were taking on a lot of accounts that didn't generate enough revenue to justify the level of service that we wanted to provide. So after a number of years, we had to transition, and that's always difficult. Transitioning to a different type of clientele, getting your whole team behind you, because now you're saying no to clients that you would have said yes to before. But it's got to be a fit, and we have to stick to that.
Still in personal markets, or
No,
had you pivoted to?
We had pivoted. Yeah. We were always part commercial. We still are personal and commercial, with the heavy focus on commercial,
right?
Larger businesses. So it was just more moving upstream.
At some point, you made a strategic decision to move to the larger commercial market.
Yeah, absolutely. We always wanted to write it. It was just like we just never put a focus on it. We were too buried in like the smaller stuff, and it was hard to get out of that. So once we were able to get our team on board, it's been great ever since. I mean, we could just, prior to making the shift, we were very focused on top line. Now we're more focused on how can we grow the top line while also growing the bottom line, right? I mean, it's about generating a profit, and we've done a better job at that over the years since we've made that transition.
So when you hire people, you're hiring with the idea that they're gonna generate more revenue than what you're paying them, which is how you do business.
Yep.
And every expense, there should be some profitability built into it, correct?
Absolutely. And that doesn't always happen in year one. I mean, sometimes that takes a few years, especially in our business. A producer, especially if they're a startup producer, you don't expect to make any money with them for a few years.
It's an investment.
It's an investment, yeah. But once you start making money, hopefully you continue to make it for the foreseeable future.
And that strategy is working for you so far.
It is. I mean, it creates challenges. I mean, I think a lot of us in the insurance industry start the business because we're good producers, and you'll quickly realize that once you start the business, you don't have much time to produce because you're doing all the things to run the business, right? So being able to step out of that and have a sales team that steps into that and provides the same quality of service that we want to offer, it has its own challenges, but it's been good for sure.
So you have a sales team, and you have, I'm sure, administrative people as well.
We do,
right?
Yes, yep.
And you mentioned before, we actually only have about 2 minutes till break, so I'm going to ask you this after the break. But I have two questions going on in my mind at once. So you're in the middle of an acquisition, right? So when you acquire people, obviously that's strategic as well. You're acquiring another agency or producers, or when you acquire?
It could be a mix. To this point, it's been some smaller where it's just maybe like an owner-operator, and then we've had a couple where there was one where there was service staff included, and then one where there were multiple producers included. So it's been a mix. So
when you do that, you're building what I would call horizontal growth by bringing more people that are producers. And I assume you also have to be focused on vertical growth at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're getting more from each producer, that they're doing more for themselves. They're building their incomes higher as you're building the business.
Yeah, organic growth is important. It's nice to bring on the horizontal stuff, but we always have to have a team that's building up from organically.
In a nutshell, how do you do that? How do you work the organic part? The horizontal part, people can understand and imagine.
Yeah, a lot of training. We are very invested in the training that we do for our sales staff, and they make a lot of phone calls. They do a lot of networking, and that's generally how they're growing their books internally.
Gotcha. We're going to take a very quick break, commercial break, and we'll be right back with Bill Sprague on Founders Forum.
The Sattel Institute is the leading CEO member organization dedicated to corporate social responsibility. Under the vision and leadership of its founder, entrepreneur and philanthropist Ed Sattel, the Institute brings together CEOs in Philadelphia and other cities to support the nonprofit organizations that do heroic work in our communities. The Sattel Institute believes that community is every leader's business. SI's members-only meetings and private CEO conferences give members the opportunity to hear from world-class thought leaders on crucial topics like AI, education, corporate philanthropy, and more. In addition, CEO members get the opportunity to share ideas and experience with their peers, like-minded CEOs who believe in the importance of giving back to the community and who understand the benefits companies get from embracing corporate social responsibility. The Sattel Institute charges no dues or fees. In order to join, member companies simply make a long-term commitment to the nonprofit of their choice. To find out more about membership and why so many leading companies are now part of the Sattel Institute, visit the organization's website at sattelinstitute.org. Sattel, S-A-T-E-L-L, institute.org. As Ed Sattel says, think we, not just me.
We're back on Founders Forum with our guest today, Bill Sprague. Nice to have you here again, Bill. And Bill, so we're talking about acquisitions. So I know that company culture is something of concern to you. And does that present challenges when you're acquiring other producers and bringing them in and or another company in?
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of our biggest challenges with it, with acquisition, because we've created a culture over the years, and so did those businesses.
Sure.
And then when you combine them, they're different and sometimes conflicting. So it's just a matter of, I think as long as coming into throughout the process of the acquisition, you have to just be very clear about what your goals are and how it's going to help their business grow and help them grow as individuals. And, as long as you live up to that, then, we found that the cultures do generally come together. Not necessarily day one, but
right.
It does.
You mentioned, we were talking right before the break about organic growth, vertical growth, and the use of training. So obviously you want to integrate them into your training programs. Does that work the way you intended to?
Absolutely. Some better than others, right? Like some people are very bought in because, the training programs we do, they are top-notch, high quality. And
developed by you guys, or?
No, we use an outside firm.
Gotcha.
But it's very good, very well-known in the industry, very good reputation. So the ones that want to take advantage of it have seen a lot of success with it. But that's not always the case. And it maybe takes some time, right? We're pretty early on in the process, so hopefully that will continue to
Gotcha.
evolve.
How would you describe the culture that you want to build?
The culture I want to build is like a can-do attitude with just like a winning mentality. Taking personal accountability, right? Not blaming others. When a client comes to us with a challenge, we have a can-do attitude, like, hey, we can get this done for you. Here's how we're going to do it. And then just like a winning, pleasant to be around type of place.
Pleasant, winning atmosphere. I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. And is there any special things you do besides training to instill that culture? Do you do events? Do you do any socializing? Do you do any, volunteer things, or what kind of things do you do?
Yeah, we've done a lot of things over the years, more just like social activities. Maybe it's like a game together with the team. We've done some runs, different things like that. So, it's still a small enough team where I don't think you have to go crazy. It's just like, pulling people together for a small thing.
Gotcha. So let's say this is 3 years from now. It's November of 2028, and we're looking back on the 3 years you and I are speaking. What would have to happen over that 3-year period, Bill, for you to feel that was a successful 3 years in your journey? That could be personal, business, or otherwise.
I could go down a tangent if we're going to go business and personal. So I'll stick to business for now. From a business perspective, over the next 3 years, I'd like to double the size of the agency, but do it in a different way. We've we've been fortunate to have some very good growth over the past 3 years. I would like to double the size of the agency again, with about half of that coming through organic growth. I'm sure there will be some additional coming from mergers and acquisitions, but I would like to. We have a heavy focus on organic growth right now, so I would like half of that growth over the next 3 years to be through those efforts.
That's aggressive. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else business-wise as part of that vision?
That's my main vision for the business, for sure.
So I'm going to ask you personal, and the reason is this is a show about founders, right? So it's the people behind the business. So what personally would have to happen over the next 3 years?
All right. So I'm big on health, wellness, fitness, things like that. So one of the things that I have on a bucket list is an Ironman. I've done a lot of races, but an Ironman is one that's
nice.
a big challenge, right? Takes a lot of time, and I would hope to be able to do one over the next 3 years or so.
That's wonderful. Have you started training or?
Yeah, I mean, so I'd probably be better off at like a half Ironman right now, but
Okay.
I got to get to that level of Ironman, which is almost a full-time job in itself. So
Would you do half first?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm targeting a half in 2026.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah.
Cool. And you're married,
I am
children.
married, 2 kids.
How old are the kids now?
My daughter is 15 and my son is 12.
That's right. You look so young. I forget that you have kids that old. So how do you find the time? How do you do all that training? You have
Early
kids?
mornings.
Early mornings.
Before everyone else gets up.
What time do you get up?
So funny enough, and before this year, I would generally get up about 4:45, be in the gym at 5 a.m. Now that my kids are getting a bit older, they actually will come to the gym with me a lot. So I will sleep in a bit and go to the gym afterwards with the kids.
Do you do you ever train with the kids? You ever take them out and do some of that?
Absolutely.
You do
Absolutely.
that.
It's important to me that my kids are comfortable and healthy, comfortable in a gym and just healthy.
And is your wife, she trained as well? And
She does. It's funny enough, we were all in the gym at the same time last night with different trainers, and
wow, you guys should be on a commercial.
The whole family was there, so it's great.
Family that trains together.
Yeah, trains together, stays together. I guess, right?
Very nice, very nice. Any obstacles you see in hitting what kind of things do you see in the way of your business and or your personal goals?
Personal goals, I'll say, it's mental, right? Like you have to have the right mindset. The only thing stopping me from hitting my physical goals or personal goals are me.
If your mind gets in the way.
If my mind gets in the way, right? So that's the challenge you got to face. And then business, again, it's a mindset, right? Like we have to have the can-do attitude as an organization, not just me, but the whole organization. And we're the only ones that can get in the way of that. I think we have we offer a high quality product and service, and we just have to be able to put that out to our clients or prospective clients and help them understand how it'll benefit them long term. So,
you seem to me to be, in the short time I've known you, to be a pretty focused guy. In terms of business, or the things that you do to help keep yourself focused, I know you're a member of EO.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things you do from a leadership point of view or development point of view to help you continue to be the leader that you are in the business, or to get better even?
EO helps for sure. It provides a lot of the events and learning that I get, and outside of that, it's just reading. I do a decent amount of reading, and reading is one thing, but applying those things that you've learned through a book is a whole other thing. But primarily between EO learning events and reading is where I get the majority of my business education.
So you led me right to my next question. I appreciate that.
Sure.
What book are you currently reading?
Book I'm currently reading is No Man's Land by, I think, Doug Tatum. And it's essentially a book that talks about how a business will plateau at some point. Maybe it's because of lack of motivation, lack of funds, lack of knowledge. and how you can see yourself through that event. Like all businesses eventually will come to a point where it's like, man, how do I get out of here? In a good way, right? Like, how do I get to that next level? And, it talks you through what those challenges look like and how to get past them.
So you mentioned this, and brought up a real good point, because everybody on the show talks about books they've read, but we never really talk about how they apply it. So what do you do when you're done reading No Man's Land? What will you do to help apply that to your business?
That's the key, right? Sometimes I'm better than others. I take notes when I'm reading a book, and I'll try to, at the end, just kind of sift through the notes and say, like, all right, what's the one thing I can take? A lot of times out of a book, I might get one thing out of it, right? So it's just taking that one thing and seeing if it's the right time to just apply it in the business.
And you'll build that into your written plan, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's more for me, like things that I have to do. So, are there times when, like Traction, for example, that affected the entire organization because we just changed the operating system of the organization.
But it started with you.
It started with me, right? But more times it's about like things that I need to do to hopefully move the firm to the next level.
What are your favorite books that you've read over the years?
I'll give you the ones that I think have had the most impact. Traction was one of them from a business perspective.
Yep.
The one from a personal perspective would have been Miracle Morning. And that was what really got me into the mindset of like, hey, get up early, get your mind right, get your body right, and then the rest of the day will be easier.
Nice. Are you, well, I really just have one other question for you. If you could speak to your younger self, Bill, what advice would you give you? Because you seem like a pretty well-developed, focused guy. So what would you add to that mix if you were advising yourself?
I would say start a business earlier. I waited too long. I went the safe route, we'll call it, but it doesn't get easier. You don't get an opportunity where there's like less risk involved with starting a business. It just gets riskier and riskier. So I would say right out of college or high school, if college is not for you, right? Just if you're entrepreneurial, start a business, get things moving. You'll learn on the fly. You're going to learn from your mistakes, but ultimately, I think you'll be in a better place when you get to my age.
Well, that's great advice, and that's actually all we have time for. Time flies when we're having fun on this show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Thanks, Bill Sprague, for being here. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next week on Founders Forum.
Great.
We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum and that you found value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WXKB 1039 HD2.